Let the grace of God bless man and every woman in this land. Stay strong, keep your faith alive. Whatever comes to meet us, know the darkness won't defeat us. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.
Namaste. Honor to the divine within and the realization that you and I are one. Let's chant the mystical syllable Om one time. Deep breath, spine straight. So last Friday, trying to focus the full moon energy, we had a special mantra yoga class in which we focused on grounding and psychic protection. And I find that there's more that I want to add to that. First, I was talking about know thyself and pointing out that if you're as sensitive, grounding and psychic protection becomes really important to you, for you, while depending upon your astrological and elemental makeup, it may become more or less important. Now, one of the ways you can tell your astrological or elemental makeup is by listening to your voice. So if you're an air predominant person, you tend to talk really, really fast. If you are and live in the realm of ideas, that ideas really turn you on, really move you. If you're a fire predominant person, your emphasis is on doing rather than thinking or talking. Often you find a huge gap between the masculine and the feminine, that someone who's more feminine is into the realm of feelings, the realm of sensitivity, and often their companion doesn't entrain with that, doesn't resonate with that. They're fire predominant, they're masculine, they're action oriented. You know, what's wrong with you that you can't feel this, that you don't experience this, that you're not sensitive to this? So it's a very often a very a challenge in relationships between someone who's more feminine and someone who's more masculine, is this living in different realms. Now you can tell an ether predominant person because they're really spacey, whiny, spaced out. And an earth predominant person tends to just be quiet, turn their back on all this, walk away from it. Now, a water predominant person is whiny. You can hear someone who's a sensitive because they have a water predominant moon or a water predominant rising sign. They are whining. Oh, that wasn't fair. Your portion is bigger than mine. Where's my love? Okay. So you can hear in your voice very, very easily the element that predominates and the element that's out of balance. If we're whining, we're in a watery place and sensitive to that element. And with your clients, you can hear by how they present themselves that they're whiny and vulnerable. Okay. So anyway, water we mentioned in the know ourselves portion of this talk, that many of us are sensitives, and sensitives have to pay particular attention to psychic protection. Now, one of the places where we are these days, people really, really stumble really ignorantly and ignore age-old wisdom of psychic protection is in the realm of jewelry. So people are, in traditional Hindu culture, you would only put a diamond here at your nose. You'd only put a gold here. This is your sacrum. Your ears are a microcosm of the etheric environment in the womb and the health of your mother. So if you have large ears, that indicates your mom was pretty healthy when she was carrying you. If you have tiny ears, tiny earlobes, she was probably living a more patrician lifestyle when she wasn't out working very hard, or maybe wasn't eating as well as she should have, or maybe was the child of parents themselves who didn't have that strong a constitution to pass on. So this here is analogous to your sacrum. And you've all seen those auricular therapy charts where you see the whole of the fetus curled up in the air, and then you can work any of the analogous organs by working these points on the fetus's etheric body. Again, the ears resonate with ether, and our ether is a medium between the subtle universal elements and the gross material elements. Again, your ear, if you look at your ear, you find this beautiful golden spiral a horn in the cochlea that's taking the ultrasound of the cosmos and bringing it into the very core of your subtle energy. So the ears are fundamental to your etheric body. So in any case, in traditional culture, you'd only wear gold here. You wouldn't, you really wouldn't put silver right in here. And the poorest people in India, when they have any money, it goes into gold earrings. It goes into a diamond nose ring that you can wear your health, wear your wealth, where it will contribute to the most valuable thing you own, which is your health, because without health, you're really impoverished. We're looking at the planetary signatures. Again, everything is the breath of creation, and breath is very rhythmic. And the order of creation that is revealed in the rhythm of the breath is a spectrum of consciousness. Now, this spectrum of consciousness is most elaborately understood and most elaborately experienced in the annual cycle, the cycle of the year: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, etc. But that same cycle is in every breath and every heartbeat, and is in every rhythm of the planets. And the same spectrum of consciousness and the same order of creation can be found on every plane, every dimension. And in traditional wisdom, this was called the Doctrine of Signatures, where you could see the signature of the cosmos, of the sun, moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn in every aspect of creation. So one of the places where we experience this spectrum of consciousness really vividly in our lives is in the days of the week. Think about Sunday and how it's transcendental, how it's golden, how it's expansive, how it's a time for putting work aside and coming together in a higher vision, going to church or going out to the park or just in dancing in the solar light, the solar quality. And then Moon Day is in a polarity to that. Monday, Moon Day, is very lunar. It's kind of depressing. You go back to work. It's very emotional. It's very, as Sunday is very expansive, Moon Day is very contracting, depressing. And the opposite of that is Tuesday, which is Mars Day classically. And Mars is again very fiery to get things going. Okay. And then Mercury is the opposite of that. Mercury is very agile. Wednesday is called Mercur Day in French, okay? In the old Latin derived languages. Wednesday, Tuesday's Mars days in the Latin world. Wednesday is Mercur Day. And again, Mercury is very agile. Wednesday is a good day for communication, a good day to study, a good day to take a test. And then Mercury is again very agile and very focused. And then Thursday, Thor's Day, is Jupiter, is very expansive and promiscuous in our love. That Thursday is very flowery and overly expansive, overly expressive. And then that love that we experience and universal brotherhood and universal sisterhood that we experience on Thor's day, Jupiter's day, then becomes very focused on Freya's day. Freya is the goddess of spring, and Friday is for lovers. So you've all noticed a very special quality on Friday afternoons. You have a Friday date, and how sweet the love is, and how sweet the energy. It's like this fall energy of Libra, Virgo, that really sublime colors and textures of the fall. And then Saturn is embodied in Saturn Day. Saturday night, you get drunk. Saturday, you go shopping. You clean out the storage closet. You have a fight with your boyfriend or your husband. And then we meet its opposite again on Sunday, which is very expansive and solar. Can you see that? Do you experience what I'm talking about here in the spectrum of consciousness and the days of the week? Now, the same spectrum of consciousness is embodied in the metals. So gold is associated with the sun. Gold entrains and resonates with the sun, that wherever you bring gold in your body or your life, you bring a transcendental solar force, a higher dimension of energy. So for instance, when we get married, we put a gold ring on our reflexes to our pelvis here, on the water finger. On the pelvic reflexes, we put a gold ring here on our Scorpio reflexes, right? And that's very nourishing. The moon is silver, entrains with silver, and silver is very grounding, very cooling, but depleting. So in India, when you are often, engaged at 13 or 14, married at 15, they take your air toe, which reflexes to your heart, and they put a silver ring on your air toe to ground that passionate teenage heart and keep it home, and to cut down on your attraction to other men. Do you hear that? Now here in the West, it's very fashionable to put a silver ring on your left air toe, or even on all the toes. Now that could be good in the sense that it's grounding, but it's also depleting. And if you're single, I think you want to fly with your passion. I don't think you want to deplete your passion. So what I would recommend is using a pendulum or using muscle testing for every piece of jewelry that you own before you put it on your body. Because all of these different elements, iron, very coarse, mercury, brass. So for instance, if you're in the world of martial arts, you may wear a brass or iron belt buckle over your solar plexus, over your fire center, that you wear a big leather belt to protect your solar plexus and protect your fire center, with a big brass buckle on it to, again, Jupiter, to entrain with Jupiter, and to embody your personal power, and to focus and radiate your personal power. Copper, ruled by Venus, is used, for instance, to mitigate the pain of arthritis. How many of you have an aunt or grandmother, or even you yourself, wear a copper bracelet? I always wear a copper bracelet, and I have no arthritic pain in my body. And my mother did the same thing to it. She had no arthritis to speak of. So copper, which is ruled by Venus, brings an element of harmony and alignment into your aura. So it's really, really important to understand these signatures. And before you put some iron, so this is where your prana comes right into your third eye. And a lot of you will just put a stainless steel nose ring there. Now, on the one hand, the metals ground these energies, but do you really want to make Mars a predominant energy in your subtle body and in your subtle field? Most people who know what they're doing will put a diamond in there, which is transcendental, or a gold ring, which or platinum maybe, that resonate with the sun. Again, here, your lips are Shiva and Shakti. Your mouth is part of this core that goes from your reproductive organs. You know, your mouth is actually like your reproductive organs. Tremendous place where we enjoy pleasure and sensation. And here on your tongue, we'll put metal there to bring Mars into your core. Maybe a way of strengthening and desensitizing. There may be some wisdom there. But I would definitely recommend taking a pendulum out and muscle testing before you put silver on your nipples for what that, you know, Cancer is the breast. I feel and the heart of who we are, and the heart of our kindness and our beauty is so much here. And the nipples have an esoteric significance as a just a, you know, where the milk of human kindness literally comes out as we nourish. And then to put silver there, I would really question that. I would really question what that silver does to your energy. So what I'm recommending here is a form of psychic protection, and as a way of not depleting your energy, is taking, before you have any part of your body pierced, take out your pendulum or do some muscle testing and ask, is this appropriate for me? It may be that you need the grounding. It may be that you need the cooling, but it also may be that it's depleting your energy. And traditionally, the metals and the jewels were used as a way of doing feng shui on your body. And just like you would do feng shui on your house, traditionally a healer was an astrologer. And they recommended these different gems and these different colors and these different metals on particular fingers, having to do with your astrology. So if a planet was challenged, you could improve your relationship to that planet that was in detriment by wearing appropriate jewels on the appropriate fingers. So on your sun finger, here. I'm sorry, your sun finger, your ring finger, you could wear a ruby, a red coral to nourish your solar qualities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I find this really, really fascinating. And again, Dr. Harish Johari, the great sage and doctor of Ayurveda, one of my early teachers, he has a book out on using gemstones in Ayurveda. I forget the title of it, but it's really well done. And so your rising sign is really fundamental in the astrology of your body. And then once you understand what's happening with your rising sign and the relationship of the other planets to it, then you can begin to maybe prescribe appropriate jewels for yourself. During a very difficult time in my life, I wore an emerald talisman here, and it ended up being discolored by the challenges that I was facing at that time. That a lot of people work with gem therapy because of because it can change your professional karma. You are the personification of an instant of the cosmos, and you are the personification of the of where all of these planetary keynotes, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, da da da, etc., where the planets are in that moment. You personify that instant of the infinite creative potential of the cosmos. And so you entrain with these forces. So if you're born when the Earth is facing the part of the zodiac that we call Cancer, you have a Cancer rising, and it influences your body. You have a rounded, soft, feminine, watery body. You easily put on weight. You are a homebody. You tend to be introverted and sensitive and nourishing. Okay. Well, if you were born 2 hours before, or 4 hours before, you were born with when the Earth was facing Taurus, and you have a Taurus rising, and you are very stable rather than very emotional, and you're very practical rather than very vulnerable, and you're a master of the physical plane. Okay, so it's not only the rising sign, but every quality in you is a reflection of the way you personify those cosmic forces. And then your destiny has to do with the progression of these forces through the cosmos, because you vibrate, you entrain with these forces. And so you personify their dance through the cosmos as you dance through life. So astrology is the science of understanding these cycles and how they intersect in your personality and your destiny. So there are a number of ways in which you can consciously work with them. And we're saying that working with jewels and metal and jewelry is one. Another is astrocartography, where they do a chart to show you on the places on the planet where you're most likely to find love or financial success or health problems. They can do a chart for you that will reveal how your destiny will flow with the destiny of the planet. And then the third place where traditionally you could work with your destiny was, again, a healer was an astrologer, and they would look at your chart and see the planets that were in detriment, and then they would come up with a talisman, which you would wear right here at the head of your sternum. You see it, you put your neck is the nucleus of your etheric body. It mediates between the subtle universal forces and your manifestation of them. And so you would wear something around your neck, which had its focal point here, right at the head of your sternum, which is like where you take in the breath of the cosmos and it radiates out to become I am. So traditionally they would make a talisman that had to do with the herbs that involve that signature. So maybe you would make a talisman, like there's a way of harvesting the St. John's wort and making it into a cross and saying a prayer into that St. John's wort at the appropriate time astrologically, maybe during the festival of St. John, and using that made it dawn in March or during the St. John's festival. There's a traditional way of using that for psychic protection, for example. So if you have mental or emotional problems, you could use that, or just as general psychic protection. So if you get into like Culpeper's 18th century herbology, you might just find the recipe right there. Or I'm sure if you did a search on Google in these days, you could find, how to make that St. John's wort protective talisman. And And then if you look, the festival of St. John would be at a moment when the signature of St. John. So like in Culpeper, for each herb, they give you its signature. So like basil is Mars in Scorpio. And basil was considered a dangerous herb in Victorian times because of Scorpio and its stimulating sexuality. But basil, I have to tell you this story anytime we talk about basil, because I had one of the most profound experiences of my life with Tulsi, Dave. So Tulsi is a Hindu or Sanskrit name for basil. And of course, we're talking about the basil they have in India, which is Krishna basil, which grows in Krishna Tulsi, which grows in a much warmer, wetter climate, or Ram Tulsi, grow in the West. So a friend of mine invited me to go with him. He was a member of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And they were visiting, and he was visiting a Krishna community where people were seeking to live that spiritual way of life. And so I joined him because I was curious. And in the morning, as part of the ritual that's done every morning, is they worship the Tulsi plant. And in India, in front of every Hindu home traditionally, there's a special urn right directly in front of the front door, which has a Tulsi plant in it and is decorated very beautifully. So that when you come to a home, you're greeted by this Tulsi and the energy of this Tulsi. So in any case, I was in this ISKCON temple, and there's a point in the ritual where they worship the Tulsi plant, where they circle her, and everybody gets to put a little water on her and to chant this invocation. And I was doing that, and evidently I had past life memories of being a very devoted Krishna devotee, because suddenly I felt the elemental. I felt the essence. I was in the presence of this incredible, incredible being. I was in the presence of the sweetest, sweetest, sweetest love I'd ever experienced in my whole life. The sweetest, kindest, most beautiful, gentle love that I'd ever experienced. That I experienced Tulsi Dev. And Tulsi Dev, the spirit of the Tulsi, is said to be Krishna's purest devotee, the purest love that we can express towards the mystery. And I somehow was blessed in that naive moment of just following this ritual to have this opportunity to be in the presence of Tulsi Dev and to understand why this Tulsi is in front of every home in India, every Hindu home in India. That's the energy that you bring into that home. That's the energy that greets you. And I stayed at Ayurvedic hospital, and every inch of the grounds was covered with Tulsi. And my teacher's ashram is surrounded by Tulsi plants. In India, they really appreciate how sublime this energy is. And these days, one of my teachers, Papaji, his devotees, set up a company called Organic India, which has created work for thousands of hundreds of peasants, hundreds of people growing organic Tulsi and other herbs. And you can get Krishna Tulsi and Ram Tulsi and take it into your body every moment. Ayurveda is considered an adaptogen, that it's an herb that's really, really good for everything. So I would recommend it as a way of as a root of psychic protection, using this adaptogen every morning. We dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own dear mother, where we share with each other as brothers and sisters, where it's expressed in our social and political forms for all our relations. Hari Om Tat Sat. And so it is. Thank you so much. God is blessed.
Let the grace of God bless man and every woman in this land. Stay strong, keep your faith alive. Whatever comes to meet us, know the darkness won't defeat us. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.